My dear terminally online humans and political masochists of all affiliations, gather round. Today we embark on an intellectual safari into the Democratic Party's eternal struggle to do, well, anything.
Had to misread, or I'm sorry, if you really had to mind read the Democrats, can you give your best guess as to why it really seems like they are just laying in the ground belly up and accepting defeat? Am I missing something? Yes, remember this, okay? When I'm giving critiques and I'm giving guidelines, even though I'm trying to give them from a general perspective of this is what would be good for the party, it could be that I'm dramatically overreading my temperament, which prefers confrontation and fighting, or I could be overreading my generation. I'm younger and I view politics a little bit differently, or I could be misreading the general population and the general media sphere for how they respond to things. And it could be that the Democratic Party has a better read on it than me. That's possible, maybe even more likely because, it's their jobs, right? So I could also always be reading things incorrectly, right? One thing that I don't know if Hakeem Jeffries did this or it was other people were pointing out that Trump's popularity has finally tipped for the first time, I think ever, that he's more disapproved than approved. And maybe it was the case that allowing Democrats to just sit there and take it, was helpful for that. Who knows? Maybe it would have been the case that if the Democrats would have been more vocal about their protests, maybe it would have gone even more. Maybe he'd be even more disapproved. So, I don't know. There's a bunch of things that, like for me personally, I like seeing conflict more and I hate seeing signs. But maybe other people like to see signs. I don't know. Maybe they do. I feel like it looks incredibly weak. It'd be fun to pull on it or to talk to people about it, I guess. Like older people. Like if you're 50, 60 and you see somebody holding up a sign, say, don't be mean. Maybe people are like, I'm glad they're holding signs up. It's respectful and it shows that they're unhappy with things. Maybe it sounds like I'm trolling, but maybe legitimately that's how an older voter feels. And I just don't understand that because it's just not my temperament. It's not my generation. And it's not the media sphere I live in. That's possible. But obviously I don't feel that way because I'm who I am and I'm in this media sphere and I'm a younger person. So
You ever watch a turtle flip onto its back and flail around, hoping the universe corrects its dumb mistake? That's the Democrats. You ever see a boxer throw himself onto the canvas and declare victory from the fetal position? That's the Democrats. You ever see a football team, 1 yard from a game-winning touchdown, suddenly decide that maybe winning is a bit gauche? And instead of running the ball, they set up a tea party at the 50-yard line and let the other team score instead. That's the Democrats. Now, I could be wrong. I, a humble internet goblin who yells about politics for a living, could be totally off base here. Maybe the Democrats are playing some grand 4D chess. Maybe their decision to act like a deer in the headlights is actually a genius strategy. Maybe I'm just a confrontational millennial whose brain has been fried by the algorithmic rage machine, and I fundamentally misunderstand how real people process political strategy. Or, and hear me out here, maybe the Democrats are just spectacularly bad at this. Let's get one thing straight. I don't hate the Democrats. Hating them would imply they're competent enough to warrant strong emotions. No, my relationship with the Democratic Party is more like watching a friend who keeps dating the worst possible people and then calling you in the middle of the night, crying about how this time will be different. It won't be. But go ahead, tell me again how Joe Manchin is actually playing the long game. But I digress. The real question here is why do Democrats seem so eager to lie down and accept their fate? Why does it feel like their grand strategy involves a lot of sighing, clutching their pearls, and tweeting about how this is not normal, while Republicans light democracy on fire and roast marshmallows over the flames? Some possible explanations. First of all, they're just that out of touch. You ever see a 60-year-old politician trying to relate to young voters? It's like watching your dad discover memes 5 years too late and start using swag unironically. The Democratic establishment is largely run by people whose idea of engaging the youth involves cringeworthy TikTok campaigns and making vague, condescending statements like, "We hear you." They don't hear you, they hear lobbyists. They hear poll numbers. They hear the sound of their own consultants telling them to keep things nice and polite, because swing voters in suburban Ohio might be turned off by mean words. Meanwhile, the Republican strategy is punch them in the face and take their lunch money. And for some reason, that seems to be working. Now, the second point is that they mistakenly believe good ideas speak for themselves. Ah, yes, the noble, we have better policies, so surely people will see reason fallacy. Adorable. Democrats keep acting like they're in a high school debate club while Republicans are running an underground fight ring. One side is presenting PowerPoint slides about healthcare policy while the other is screaming socialism and body-slamming democracy through a folding table. Guess which one wins the optics war? People don't vote based on policy papers. They vote based on emotion, identity, and which side looks like they have the will to fight. And right now, one side is throwing haymakers while the other is handing out pamphlets. Thirdly, they're afraid of conflict. This might be my generational bias talking, but does anyone else feel like Democrats are just fundamentally scared of confrontation? They hate being seen as the angry party. They desperately want to be the reasonable adults in the room, even when the other side is actively trying to burn the room down. I get it, there's something appealing about the idea that you can rise above it all. That being the bigger person will earn you respect. That if you just stay calm and rational, the American people will reward you. But have you met the American people? Half of them think climate change is a hoax because it snowed that one time in April. At some point, you have to realize that playing nice doesn't work when the other side is playing to win. But instead of throwing a punch, Democrats are out here handing out participation trophies. Fourth point is, maybe they actually know something I do. Okay, fine, let's be fair. Maybe, just maybe, Democrats have some secret data that I don't have access to. Maybe their strategy of lying in the dirt like a wounded possum is actually some genius plan. Maybe, just maybe, allowing Trump to keep digging his own grave without interference is the move. And look, I'll admit, there's some evidence for this. Trump's approval ratings have finally started tipping the wrong way. Maybe Democrats sitting back and letting him implode is smarter than it looks. Maybe my instinct for confrontation is just that, an instinct, not a strategy. Maybe most voters actually prefer a quiet, dignified resistance instead of a street brawl. But let's not get bogged down in details. The point is, destiny is willing to entertain the possibility that the Democrats' strategy, or lack thereof, might actually be effective. And that's a big deal because admitting you might be wrong is basically a cardinal sin in the world of political commentary. But I have to ask, at what cost? Because at a certain point, if you let the other side punch you in the face long enough, people stop seeing you as noble and start seeing you as pathetic. Look, I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just a guy on the internet with a microphone and too much caffeine in his system. But I do know this. The Democratic Party is in serious danger of becoming the party of losing with dignity. And the problem with losing with dignity is, well, you're still losing. So what's it gonna be? Are Democrats gonna finally start throwing punches, or are they just gonna keep holding up signs that say, "Don't be mean," while Republicans bulldoze their way to victory? I guess we'll find out. But if history is any indication, I wouldn't hold my breath. Let's be honest, most YouTubers are just glorified salespeople. They're out here shilling VPNs, meal kits, and mattresses like their lives depend on it. And maybe they do, but not me. I'm not here to sell you anything, except maybe the idea that you should subscribe to my channel. And even that's a stretch, because let's be real, I'm not exactly a hard sell. I'm more like the guy at the flea market who's just happy you stopped by to look at his weird collection of vintage spoons. So, if you're tired of being bombarded with ads for products you don't need, come hang out with me. I promise the only thing I'll try to sell you is my questionable sense of humor.